Hi everyone. So I have realised that I haven't made a video or update on my progress with vestibular migraines in a very long time. So I have had chronic vestibular migraine for the last 13 months. So October 21st, 2017 is when it kind of started. I have had episodes when I was a kid, and I don't really want to go too much into that just because that's on the other videos, and this is kind of like an update video. But the reason I wanted to share this video is because when I first got this, I was beyond depressed, suicidal. I was scouring the internet, and I'm really actually not that kind of person that spends their time looking for support groups and stuff, but the symptoms felt so crazy and like I was losing my mind that it was really important for me to look for people and to look for answers. And I realised that although there were some really helpful YouTube videos about vestibular migraines, there weren't that many. So that is what made me want to start making these videos. And I've had so many people reach out to me since I made these videos. The first one being like 3 months into this, so about like 8 months ago. And like I'm more than happy to help anyone, like, you know, depending on where they're at, or like I'll give any information that I can possibly give to someone, because there just isn't enough information out there, and people are like misdiagnosed with like doctors and stuff, which is just a separate issue that we won't get into. So yeah, I found people's videos really helpful. Like I know Sean's made some videos, they were really helpful for me. There's a girl called Sphere, hers were also really helpful. I just really related to them and felt a lot less alone. So that is the purpose of me not forgetting to update people, because I do feel like as well, when some people recover, they just never make any more videos, and it's like, well, what happened to you? How did you recover? So that's also really important. So where am I at now? So I've tried a lot of different medications since having this. I think I was under the conclusion that, you know, I like, something's wrong with me, I'll take some medicine and like that will fix it. I don't really think this condition works like that. I think you're really lucky if you find that medication that works for you straight away and it just works. And, you know, for the rest of us, like it might be a bit trial and error. So I do think it can be so frustrating when this goes on for so long because you are not finding the medication that works, or you find one that works and then it stops working. So the one thing I do honestly want to say, if you're listening to this and you're new to this, do not give up on your medication before you've given it a chance to work. The reason I say that is because when I started a lot of these medications, after 6 weeks and I wasn't cured, I was like, well, this doesn't work, like, forget it. Because I was reading so much online, and, you know, it was a very skewed perception of this, you know, these sufferers that have MAV. And I was like, well, if it doesn't work within 6 weeks, then it's not the drug for me. And that's just not true. Like, it's all about as well being on the right dose. So you could be on like, I don't know, 50 milligrams of something, feel nothing, but then at 100 milligrams, it would have got rid of all your symptoms. So that's really important to stress to people. Do not give up too soon. Do not read, do not compare yourself to everyone else. I can't even tell you how much that depressed me in the beginning when I was comparing myself to all these people, and I was like, well, you know, I'll be good by like 6 months, and you start counting the months, and then you're not better, and it's so depressing. It makes your anxiety so much worse. Your depression is so much worse. Like, do not do it to yourself. It's just horrific. The other thing I also want to say is depression is a part of this illness. I have gone through a lot of stuff in my life and never felt depression. My doctor told me that I think depression is like I don't know, whatever causes depression, I think he said was like on near the same part that causes migraine. So it's kind of linked. And if the symptoms aren't enough to make you depressed, then there's also that added bonus. But I would say I would have like overwhelming thoughts of depression when I was going for an attack, and I still get that. I'm very aware of it because I genuinely feel very suicidal, and it's not in my nature to feel like that. But it's like a suffocating kind of feeling. And I was also told by a few doctors that, you know, it's very common with this, and it isn't necessarily something you can control. So if you are starting to feel like that and you're like, why do I feel like this? Like, just bear that one in mind. So currently I'm on a drug called bizotifen. Don't freak out about this drug. I didn't try this drug for ages because I was like, I'm going to put on weight. Oh my God, everyone's putting all this weight, like Googling. I'm a personal trainer, so I just want to point out, like, you will not put on weight on any drug unless you are, like, as long as you are, like, watching your calorie intake. Like, seriously, like, it's science. Like, just bear that one in mind. It might be harder to keep the weight off, but you can still keep the weight off. So I don't think that should stop you trying a drug that potentially could really help you from these symptoms. What I would say with pizotifen is the side effects I get from it. I'm really bloated. So bear in mind, a lot of these drugs can make you retain a lot of water, and that can make you feel really fat and gross. Like, just because like I'll get bloated on my stomach, on my legs, but like my weight never changed when I was being careful on this drug. So I was very aware that it was water weight, but it can make you feel big. So just bear that one in mind with all of these migraine drugs. Like, they can all cause like bowel problems and water retention and whatever. So I'm on that, and I'm also on 10 milligrams of amitriptyline. I'm on a really low dose of amitriptyline. I don't really know what amitriptyline is doing. I'd say most of my relief has come from pizotifen. And I also don't want you to read this and feel like, oh my God, if she's like 13 months in and not recovered, it's going to be me. We're all different, but do not compare. Like I said, it's such an individual thing. If you watch my other YouTube videos, I had episodes or relapses as a kid that went away by themselves. I didn't even need medication. And I spent, you know, I'd say I had at least 3 or 4 relapses over my period of 30 years of living, like, where they were bad, but I never, you know, I was never suicidal with it. They were never bad enough to put me in bed. You know, or if I was, like, they were in episodes and I didn't take any medication. So every single case is different. Just bear that one in mind. I would say it's really difficult to say how much, like, a drug, if it's working or not. It's really difficult because I think the progression is so gradual and you forget how ill you actually were. Like, I have a symptom diary, so that's really helpful because I look back and, like, my boyfriend always tells me, my friend's like, no, like, you were so ill, like, you couldn't do this, this, and this. Another good thing is for me to remember that for the first 7 months of this illness, these attacks were putting me into bed. Like, I literally couldn't. I was, like, somehow getting through work and then lying down and not moving. Like, it was absolutely soul destroying. Like, I just felt like I had no control over my body. Like, I just felt like I was dying half of the time. I was constantly tired. My head felt like a pressure cooker. And every time I'd go on a drug and I'd start the drug or increase the dose, again, it would put me straight back into bed. So I would say in general, I think, you know, unless you have this, I don't really think you'd understand this illness. Like I said, I don't think migraine is the right word. Like, I think classic migraine is also very different to vestibular migraine. Like, one attack on your vestibular system can knock you out for 2 weeks. If you're having so many of them, it's like your brain is never recovering. So I you know, play these videos to your family. You know, I did that to my family. Like, try and get people to really understand it is an invisible illness that is honestly just hard in itself for people to understand. I've only had a certain amount of people understand in my life, or people that have really seen just how ill I've been, and it is really difficult. I even think when I was a kid, people just, like, you know, my brothers tell me stuff when I was a kid, and I'm like, I don't remember that, but people just thought I was a hypochondriac, and I was genuinely having symptoms, and it's a real illness. You're not imagining it, so that's pretty important to say. Currently I'm on, pizotifen 3 milligrams. I've just gone up last night. I know some of you are probably thinking that's really high, like, but you are actually allowed to go up to 4.5, and I think I have quite a high tolerance. Like, I don't think low doses do anything for me, so. And like I said, apart from tiredness and bloatedness and being a bit hungry, like, pizotifen has been an easier med to handle. So that's made it easier. I would say in 13 months, my good days, I'm 60% better, with the 40% being I still have symptoms every day, but I'm functioning and, like, I can kind of deal with them. My bad days are like 30 to 40%, and my average days are 40 to 50. And I know that might sound really bad, but I just want to grade this in percentage for you guys, because I know I really wanted to hear that when I was really, really sick with this. I started at like 10%, so that's where I've come from. And I know, you know, sometimes I'm like, my God, like, it's not really that much of a progression, but the brain is a really slow healer, and it's just not an illness that you just snap back from. But, you know, there are worse things in the world, but just bear that one in mind. So I also recently flew. I flew to America with this. Fair enough, I did fly first class because I didn't actually think I'd be able to be on a plane upright for 12 hours, which I've been so sick I wasn't even willing to do that. At least if you're lying down, for me, that's the least symptomatic I'm going to be. Like, I know obviously you can feel the rocking and stuff, but on the plane, I didn't actually feel the rocking because it was in motion. And I was really worried about that. So I really want to put that out there. Like, if you're scared about flying, like, it didn't make me worse. All I would say is when I landed on the other side, I crashed. I had a really bad relapse. But my doctor told me that's normal. And I think it could have been, I don't know, air pressure, lack of sleep, like, who knows. But that I had really bad symptoms for a week after that. Upped my dose on Pizotifan at the time, and it kind of seemed to settle things. So that's why my doctor now, I just saw him on Monday, he's like, we need to kind of hit this hard and go up on the dose, and if that doesn't work, I have to go back and see him sooner rather than later. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I know a lot of people don't do videos about flying with Mav, and it's not going to make you any worse. Like, I was fine on the plane. Don't freak out. Things I would say is, though, if you can afford to fly first class or business, like, it helps if it's a long journey. If it's a short journey, then not so much. The airport was quite horrific. Wear sunglasses. I had earplugs. I did get wheelchair assistance on the opposite side, because by that point I just couldn't walk. I didn't have any balance. And my brain's gone blank. Thank you, brain fog. That happens a lot to me. And also take Valium if you can. I don't know for you guys in the States what the equivalent is of that. No, it is Valium. It's Valium in the States. It's called diazepam over here. So that really helps, because no matter what symptoms you're having, for me now, that really takes the edge off for me. So even if I'm having a really bad attack, and I take that, it's not a cure or anything, but it will calm things down quite a lot, because it just instantly makes the brain quite calm. So it does sedate some of those symptoms. So the symptoms I currently have, I'm not going to go back to what I did have, because I feel like I've made videos on that and I don't want to make this too long. Symptoms that I currently have, head pressure, but nowhere near as bad. I don't feel like my head's in a pressure cooker anymore, about to explode, so that's great. Visual snow, super annoying. Kind of looks like TV static over everything. Like, if I look at my bedroom sheet in front of me, I can just see grainy static. It's not I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a staticky kind of TV film over everything. If I look in the sky, it literally looks like loads of white dots everywhere. If I look at a white wall, again, loads of white dots. Very unbearable. Sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I can actually see it when my eyes are closed. Apparently this is really common with migraine. Some kind of aura. Don't know if I've spoken about this before, but this isn't happening every day anymore. Thank God. It was happening every day at one point. Now it will actually be if I have MSG, which is a trigger for me. I've realised that that's a trigger for me. Still haven't figured out all my food triggers, because it's freaking hard with symptoms every day. But that, I've noticed that my symptoms increase the day after I have that. So it kind of looks like if you look through a gas fire and it ripples, kind of like heat haze. That's what my aura presents as. And at one point I'd be driving and it would literally be it would be so close up. So the closer it is towards me, the worse the attack is. That's kind of what I've realised about that. That hasn't happened every day, but it has happened once or twice, maybe 3 times in the last 2 months. So that's great improvement. My most bothersome symptom, that if you don't have this or you've never experienced this with this, because I didn't have this, when I was a kid, is, I guess it's called derealization. It kind of feels like your head's in a bubble and you're in a dream. It's honestly the worst symptom I have. It's the symptom that I really would love to just piss off, because I feel like for the last year of my life, I haven't been present in my life, because I have felt like I'm living in a dream, which sounds crazy to any normal human being watching this, but this is what it feels like. So when I go outside, that's a lot worse. I don't know. I did ask my doctor. He said when you're outside, your balance system is more compromised, so the feeling gets more intense. It is apparently caused not by anxiety, but by a safety of the brain. So, for example, my doctor basically said, and I do see Dr. Strength for him, who does seem to know a lot about this condition, that when you're having these attacks, he was basically said to me, if you don't feel safe, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I leave or I run. He's like, well, that's what your brain's doing. Your brain doesn't feel safe. It's having all these symptoms. It's having all these attacks daily. And it's whoa, we can't deal with this. So we're just going to exit. That is what's happening. And the symptoms that is, it's basically putting your brain in a constant state of fight or flight. And that is why you feel like you're in a dream. At certain points, I felt like I wasn't in my body. Honestly, again, I know this sounds mental. Just imagine how it felt going through it. And I think Dr. Soros said that some people feel like they're out of their body looking around. It's messed up. It honestly, before I had this, I wouldn't even know how to describe that symptom. I think everyone describes it differently. It's so difficult to describe. I know it is coming from my head. I know it's coming from here. I can genuinely feel it. My eyes don't feel normal yet. It's kind of there's a lot of stuff going on at the front. But I can't even give a better explanation than that. But it is common. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. It's a real symptom. It's a real illness. And that is probably the hardest symptom to deal with, out of everything. I think because, I've had a lot of these symptoms as a kid, I could deal with the rocking and stuff, but when that started happening all the time, that was a much worse symptom for me to deal with. Did actually have that symptom a lot as a kid, always in busy places, so it's not shocking to me that it would be worse in busy places now. And it would happen for like 10 seconds at a time, and then it would like stop. So the reason I think chronic vestibular migraine is so bad is you don't get a rest from the symptoms. They are so draining, and it's like every day you're repeating it. So, you know, I'll go through times of just being like, I'm okay, I'm dealing with it, and then I'll just crash and cry and like just be crying on the phone to my boyfriend for hours, you know, because it is so frustrating. I think anyone out there with an invisible illness, whether that's ME, MS, like there's so many illnesses that are like that. It is hard. You can't see them and you don't know how to explain the symptoms. The worst thing about vestibular migraines is it changes your perception of reality, and that is quite difficult. There's not a lot of illnesses that do that. It completely changes how you see the world, visual distortions, feeling like you're in a dream. These are things that are really hard to deal with, and I would really recommend anyone struggling with that to go to therapy or CBT, because that's honestly what's helped me not necessarily get rid of the symptoms, but just deal with them better. And the anxiety fuels these symptoms, so the more stressed out you are, the worse these symptoms become. So it's a nasty little cycle. So yeah, that's my worst symptom. I'm also getting rocking, you know, when you feel like you're in a boat. That happens every day. Sometimes it's really mild, like on a 1 to 10, it's like 2 or 3. Some days it can be like a 7 to 8. But it's not every day a 7 to 8, so that has changed, thank God. And I think that's what the amitriptyline has helped me with. I don't really think it did anything else, but pizotifen wasn't helping with that. So this is why it's a little bit of trial and error finding a drug that suits you. I get fullness in my ear, ringing in my ear, pain in my ear. Sometimes I get pain above my left eye and it goes all over the left side of my face. I wouldn't call it a headache. It just is a funny sensation. And sometimes the pressure in my head will get really intense again. These are symptoms that I don't have every day, or I have them every day to a very mild, like the tinnitus might be really low ringing, and sometimes it's higher. So when this first started, all of these symptoms were at like 100. So I'd say I've kind of got all the same symptoms. They've just lessened a lot, and I'm really hoping they just piss off eventually. So, but the aura's gone. So the heat haze thing, that isn't every day anymore. So there is one thing that's like kind of starting to fuck off. So sorry for swearing, but yeah, that's really good. So yeah, I would say in a year, I understand this illness a lot more. Like, I believe what's wrong with me. It took me like 8 months to believe this, but like, go onto groups, speak to people, message people. Like, you know, if anyone messages me, I'm always nice, because I really understand how shit this illness is and how horrible and lonely it feels. You know, maybe some of your friends won't understand it, some of your family won't understand it. It's very difficult to accept that, but it is invisible, and I guess unless you've been through it, it's so difficult to understand it. So I have made a lot of friends with this illness that has really helped me. Anyways, this is like 18 minutes long, guys, so I'm gonna have to cap this here. I will make another video just to update everyone on my progress. I am training as well now. I can't run yet, but I can weight train. I just can't push myself too hard. So very, very shortly this year, I will be making some fitness videos just for you guys. Like, I'll make a beginner one. Like, I'll maybe do a one for like a day that you're having like a 50% day, and a day that you're having like maybe a 20% day. So I'm really excited to kind of give you guys some tips and some fitness videos to like help you get back into shape, because you definitely can. This illness takes a lot from you, but like step by step, like I really believe that you can get your life back. It just is not an overnight thing, and it is very mentally draining and difficult, but it is doable. So bear that one in mind. Anyways, I hope you guys have found this helpful, and I will definitely be making an update soon. If you have any questions, please write in the comments below. And my Instagram is @AmyShock. If you want to message me on there, that's cool. You can maybe see some of my fitness videos and stuff, and maybe it'll give you a bit of inspiration to kind of just not let this illness take more than it has to. That's what I've realised. All right, bye guys.